6:30, so we'll call the work session of the mayor and council for the city of Snellville, Georgia, Monday, March 13th, 2023 to order. We do have a quorum. We've got everybody here. First, we'll go through our extensive regular business meeting. Chief Perry, you'll give the invocation?
Sure.
This time, and the pledge. Anyone want to do the pledge?
I'll do the pledge,
Dave for the pledge.
unless illustrious city attorney would like to.
Well, if I say I will, someone else will
he got
get the. I got bumped
last
last time.
Then we have the
I'll do it
approval,
next time. You do it this time.
Okay.
I'll do it next time.
the approval of the minutes, and then just the one item, the award of the bid for the Briscoe Park Lake Wall,
The rebid.
the rebid for Dickerson Group for $400,150. Anybody have any questions on that?
How does that compare to the original bid?
Way up.
But we can get it done, so.
Well, if you remember, the original bid, the low bidder was very, very low. And obviously, they thought they could do things kind of by the seat of the pants. And so
So it's probably a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
couldn't get their subs qualified, and they just kind of ran away from the project, so.
As you say, better deal.
Yeah. Any questions on the regular meeting? Correspondence?
Oh, we have one, but I'll address it in my update.
Okay. City attorney's report.
We're good.
Ongoing projects.
You have three items in front of you. One is the list, and then there are two items here concerning the Grove, concerning the mercantile. It's tomato, whatever you want to call it there. But that is, we are probably in touch with these people at least every other day regarding pushing them to get to construction as soon as possible on the mercantile building. And this was received from Kirk last Friday. I said I need something in writing for the council meeting. He could not be here tonight. He's meeting with his group for marketing discussion to put 1, 2, or 3 businesses in our mercantile building. But you can see, it says, with the city's recent approval of the revised construction plans and added services from Placemaker, the architect, Smallwood, the landscape architect, and CHA, the engineer, we're proceeding per the schedule that we handed out last time. Middle of April, submit for permit. Middle of June, start construction. Those are the two months that we feel like we can push up considerably. March 2024 to complete base building and site improvements. We think we're talking a couple months earlier than that. Any delays to the schedule, they'll immediately inform us. Right now, things are moving pretty good. Placemaker is making their updates. Smith Built, the contractor, is reviewing as they go along, and so we're on schedule, and we like I said, we hope to push it up. Leasing, this is where they're meeting today. We expect to be out in the market in the next few weeks to qualified operators, food, entertainment, and/or event space. Our entire team is assisting in this effort. That's basically Mid-City and Casto. I've attached the initial draft of the revised marketing piece, and it's really, when you look through here, it's a nice marketing piece. The Dollar General even got a shout out, if you can believe that. The one thing that I don't like on it, and I don't know, Christie and Solange, you haven't had a chance to look at it, but Brookwood High School is on here and South Gwinnett High School is not on here. They're going to put South Gwinnett High School on here. So there are.
Bye Bye Baby. Is that still?
Yeah.
There's something else that went out of business.
Yeah, they've got, and this is not the final version as he said here, but there's some work they have to do on there. But overall, I mean, they're working on it. The one thing, as we discussed in our pre-meeting, that I think we need to definitely hold them to, is non-chains. We're talking about, we would like to have unique, chef-driven type businesses here. And they have not adhered to that when it comes to some of their other leases. So I think that's something that we definitely need to make loud and clear to them that that's what we're looking for. Let's see, elsewhere in the Grove, we had very good meetings with the Mid-City Casto folks. We walked the Grove regarding FF&E, the garbage cans, the bike racks, the benches, and we came up with a plan that's being updated now. We saved a little bit of money. They had an awful lot of benches on there, and so we cut back on a few of those, moved some around, and so I think it will be a better plan when we get it there. The deck cleanup is probably halfway done. They have a lot of, we're requiring that it be like new construction. I mean, there are several oil stains, for instance, that they've got to pressure wash off. So I'd say it's halfway done right now. And we looked at the framing on Clower. Obviously, it's moving very quickly. There's supposed to be good weather this week, so you'll see even more good work there. I really would encourage everybody to go down. You can drive into the deck, park, and just walk. You don't have to walk in mud anymore. You can walk on hard surface. You can see that, for instance, the promenade, the changes in color and feel along the promenade. We were worried for a long time that it was going to look very uniform, and it was the different forms of concrete were not going to make that much of a difference. Now there is definitely a look that gives you that not consistent form. It's really it's an attractive look for the promenade. They're starting to get more pavers in. When you first walk down there, you think, wow, this is a lot of concrete. Well, they put the pavers in the library plaza. They're starting to put them around in other areas, and so it breaks it up pretty well. I don't know if y'all remember when we went to, not Avalon, but what was the one to the north of there? Not Avalon, it's
Halcyon.
Halcyon. All concrete, no pavers whatsoever. Did not look good. So I think, once we get everything done, the pavers will really break things up nicely. The mosaic artist came to town last week, and she is looking, the bench is actually a few feet longer than she had planned for, so she's ordering some extra tile. It still will be done, will probably be done in May, and so she feels real good about everything that she's doing there. And based on the pictures, I think it's going to be really a unique type of look there. Just a lot of little things going on. We've arranged for the installation of the kiosks through a separate contractor in North Carolina that deals with these kiosks all the time. They'll be put in at the proper time. Towards the end of the construction, you don't want anything hitting those things with a lot of people working out there. We have the peace pole, the rotary peace pole that will go in sometime, most likely in April. So a lot of the little extras will be added over the next 4 to 6 weeks. But I really would encourage you to go down and walk through. It'll make you feel good. I mean, looking up at the library, looking up at the apartments, you get a good feeling for things. Sidewalk improvements, property documents are being returned. Matt, I said 99% positive meetings held with property owners. There may have been 1 or 2 questions about the one property owner, the trees on Pinehurst. But if you look at those those Leland cypress, they're half dead right now. And so I think we'll be able to work through that. The bid date, I talked to Larry this weekend, bid date is probably early April. We still are coordinating with the county schedule on Pinehurst, their water project there, and that is, it's still not awarded. They're probably a month still from awarding that contract to Dickerson. So I'll keep you updated on that. City business, cleanup, beautification, sanitation. We're on track for the May 1st rollout of the recycling program. I think we have sent copies to everybody of the letters, of the brochures that will be, that we're thinking about using. So if you have any questions there, let us know. Craig and his staff have done a very good job there, working towards rolling out the new recycling program. And one of the biggest things, the online pay is now set up through the Tyler folks. They've worked very hard on that. Chuck, I know you and Jay are working on Johnny's request. That's the next item on the agenda, so we can get a little bit update on that from the work retreat. Mayor and council input on development and zoning. I thought we had a great start in that discussion. We've identified some areas for assemblages for us. Matt, Jason, and his staff and I starting to work to identify those. We'll update the maps, bring those back, and kind of refine what we're looking for. And I hope that I just, in talking to a couple of private developers, I think that's something that they'd be interested in. And so I think it's a chance for us not only to establish a little control and more input in these areas, but I think it's an opportunity to work with private sector investment and really come out with a win-win on both sides. So we'll bring those maps back to you and refine those over time. Package sales, the ad is running the next 2 Wednesdays. Applications will be due June the 5th. And I think in the ordinance, we have 45 days to decide. We probably will not take that long. And then it'll be up to you guys to set up the lottery system for choosing if we have more than one qualified applicant, which, based on the interest out there, I would think there probably would be 2 or 3 people in the lottery. We'll see. Briscoe Park, it's one of the areas we more or less have declared an emergency when it comes to some salary reviews. We're looking at police, we're looking at public works, we're looking at the parks, we're starting that process. We're also seeking proposals. I talked to 2 different entities on the Lenore Church property. Here again, you'll have an opportunity to have some input into what that looks like in the future. So, and there are some nice residential developers who I think will be interested in that property. North in Wisteria, the right-of-way appraisal work is complete. We had a long conversation with Brian Edwards the other day on the documents, Chuck. I think he'll probably have that done pretty shortly.
He shot you an email at 5:45, so.
Good deal. Traffic calming plans, the best way I can describe those is they're on hold pending neighborhood and county discussions. We're waiting on the county to have some input on the smaller roundabouts, for instance, on Mountain View. The chief, Zach, you guys gave us some information, some traffic data on Mountain View. And I think there was 1 car going 85 miles an hour.
Oh my gosh.
On Mountain View. So it's we emphasize to the county, this is pretty critical to us. And approve a plan for us for a mini roundabout, a couple of mini roundabouts there. It's the only way you're gonna slow people down. So we're still working on those items.
Did they mention anything to you that they've got plans for a roundabout at Mountain View and Oak?
The
The county?
The Sylvia did not. The people that we've talked to have not.
It-
And
it's on
maybe
the
that is
project
a,
list, but don't know what the design
If it made a
is.
list.
maybe
If
that's
it
a
made the list.
regulation size that they don't have to, study into the ground.
Yeah.
Maybe it's already.
Well, I'd heard that it was on like the project list, the major project list, and I don't know if it was gonna get funded in this SPOSS or
Yeah.
not.
It's a busy one.
There are several places they can put roundabouts, that
When
are,
we're talking about these, traffic calming things, do you think it'd be worthwhile to do some neighborhood meetings like we did for the
Yes.
sidewalks?
Yes.
Because my experience is a lot of people, when you say that, they think speed bumps. They
Yeah.
don't understand what they are.
Well, because I would, one, I don't want, this is all city money that's going into this, and I don't wanna put them in areas where people don't want them. I know with your group that you email in Tanglewood, a few people were saying, no, we don't want those. So I think we need to be out in the neighborhoods that we're looking at and talking and finding out, just, getting the pulse of the neighborhood. If there's too much pushback on it, then we'll
Go on to the next.
go
one.
on to the next neighborhood. So,
I think it was just one guy in our neighborhood, and he lives way down at the end of Tanglewood. He's not really affected by the speed.
reading.
well, maybe we could,
But I think that's definitely something we need to,
Yeah, I
to
think
do.
it would be really helpful.
well, we've used a Survey Monkey instrument before, maybe we do that and get some,
We could maybe start with
input on
that and
our-
then do like a neighborhood, just go out to one of the cul-de-sacs and say, hey, look, we'll be out here in the cul-de-sac this time. Come by, get your questions answered, let us show you what we're talking about.
Yeah, bring some illustrations so they understand it's not
Yeah.
speed bumps, it's
Right.
Well,
slaloms.
Yeah,
you'll never, most likely, you'll never get 100% approval.
No,
but,
no, you won't, but if we have,
guys
I'd like
have
to
to make
see
that
kind of where the
decision.
majority is,
Yeah.
what the consensus of the neighborhood is, before we were to do something. Because I do know, you mentioned those, and you got the people whose first reaction is, oh, I always see how fast I can go through it, and then, so you have those people and that believe that's the way everybody treats them. And so-
Two other quick things. The retreat follow-up report is not available this week. Michael McPherson went on vacation with his family last week.
What?
So Matt and I will work on that. We'll have that out to
How
you
dare
guys
he.
During the
sometime,
session.
early spring break. We'll get that out to
Who
you
takes
later
vacation
this
in
week or
March?
early next week. And Johnny Green, I should have put this up in QOL. Johnny Green attended his first Quality of Life conference. And it apparently was well worthwhile.
Very, very informative.
So, we're making an investment, we're taking it very seriously. I think we're making a lot of progress. And, Brianna, I don't know if Brianna's back at work yet or not. She
Not yet.
lost her father, and, so she's going through a difficult time with her family. But, Johnny and Brianna are working hard. That's about all I have for you.
When you mentioned that peace pole in the grove, is that gonna be just like what is down at Briscoe
Briscoe.
Park?
No, this is a stainless steel 6 or 7 foot pole with the languages, 4 different languages on there.
So
And,
it'll look a little better than
Oh,
what
it's-
at Briscoe Park.
It's a work of art.
I
I mean, it's a little public art.
okay, because I thought we nixed that, but
What's that?
I thought we voted that down.
We voted it down in the center of the plaza.
Okay.
Yeah, it's over by the library entrance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had wanted to put it like right in the middle of everything, or right in the middle of where you come into the plaza or something. It just seemed like it was an obstacle rather
And the
than,
other thing, when you're talking to Kirk about restaurants in the Grove, you were saying they have used some franchises and other projects, I guess, and I would just help him understand that we're gonna be really criticized if we just get some franchises in there. It's not gonna be what the expectation is at all.
And
We do not want a mall food court.
You mean like Great American Cookie Company?
And somebody's pretzels.
in the popcorn store.
Yeah, in a popcorn store. We're good to go.
Okay. Next, we have discussion of the code enforcement issues that Officer Green brought up at the work session. That list was, it took me forever to find it. It was in the agenda packet. I was like, it's not in mine. Todd's showing me his. I was like, it is not in mine. Here it was. So just for further discussion, did you want to lead or do you want to lead? What are we doing? What did we decide?
Johnny, did you want to go through the list, or want me to read the list, or? So Johnny put together a list that we had at the retreat of items that would help, or kind of the biggest problems that he's coming across and that he needs some assistance with. He's got a lot of it well underhand that he takes care of. One of the big ones was we have one business right now that just has never gotten an occupation tax license, continues to not have one. We need to find out how much, Neely can probably tell us how much the taxes that haven't been paid are on that. I suspect they're fairly significant.
You don't know his income, you don't know his taxes.
Right, but I mean, just guessing, it should be, and that's part of, we actually have a pretty good ordinance in there that requires the businesses operating in the city of Snellville to produce their books, to allow us, the city, to examine those books. It's actually a criminal violation to not allow us to have access to the books. We do already have in place in the ordinance that if you don't pay your occupation tax, you're automatically in default. So we are at that point where we're going to send a letter to both the business owner as well as his franchisor. We think that may get some help if the franchisor realizes that their national name is being sullied by a person that's going to end up with a chain across the door of the restaurant. And that would be the next step, is we would take an actual action in court to levy against the equipment in the restaurant. Because it's a corporate, so we can't arrest a person, and it's a rental space, so we can't foreclose on the property. But we believe we probably can levy against the restaurant equipment, which is what they need to function. So that was his first issue. The second was needing to be able to contact corporate businesses that ignore citations. In particular, I think Todd may have brought this one, but that if there are existing violations, you will not be able to get a new occupation tax certificate. So with that is actually, that particular, if there's pending violations, isn't in the code. Owing money is, but we will put that into a draft. We've got some cleanup in the code that we've addressed over the last couple months, and we can put that in there to fix that issue. 3 is parking a number of vehicles. There are some properties that have a dozen vehicles or more. The code limits you to 4 vehicles per property. Is that right, Johnny? And the problem is when Johnny comes and tells them they can't do anything else, they put them in the street, which creates a hazard for traffic. Indicated that there's no signs posted to help with street law and no state law is being violated. What our suggestion, and typically we come across this, are, of course, if it's a city street, we can put signs up there. We can enforce, signs on the city streets. On the county streets, really, other than contacting the county and asking them if they'll put up, and they will. We've had I've had a lot of neighborhoods where they've had that same issue, where their covenants, there's in particular, there's a neighborhood off of 124 that I represent, and they had the same problem. You couldn't get an ambulance down the street from people parking because the covenant said they couldn't have more than 3 or 4 vehicles in the driveway. And the county actually came out and put no parking signs up in front of the houses, and that in the right-of-ways where they had right-of-way. So that's probably our best option, on that. Now, if the county doesn't want to do it, I don't know that we don't have control of those county roads. There's not a lot else we can do other than that, but.
I didn't realize that we could put no parking signs just on our city streets.
I think
We can do that.
I think we can enforce no parking. Greg, you?
What we have done in the past, Chuck, the biggest issue is we try to get the buy-in from the neighborhood first, that
Yeah.
they want it. And we've also never put it on the entire street, because then we're banning parking on the street in general, so if they have a party, they can't have anybody over. So typically what we do is put it on one side of the street, and that's only if the neighborhood actually wants it. If we've had situations where the neighborhood has an HOA and they actually pay for the signs, and then we install them.
So maybe if you have a bad section of street on a curve or something, we could put the no parking signs up on the curve.
Right, I think the last ones we had put up were off Crimson Creek, down in the cul-de-sac area, because people were parking and the bus couldn't make the U-turn.
That's the one you were talking about, Solange?
No, well,
Isn't it?
it's like,
Or it's the same?
Talking about my cul-de-sac.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, the
But it was the
bus
same
stand
problem.
turn is the same exact
Yeah,
problem.
same problem, okay.
But there are places like, I think Lawrenceville and Duluth have passed no overnight parking in the cities, and that seems to be successful. Most of those police departments don't enforce them unless there's a complaint. If we had something like that, we'd probably only respond one time a night, just because, we wouldn't want somebody just driving around and finding cars parked on the street and us having 50 calls like that. So we'd probably do it once a night.
Okay. John, maybe you can help us a little bit. The next one was need an open-ended nuisance violation. This would allow enforcement of problem properties or continue violations, have the policeman called, or is a nuisance to a community. What's your kind of situation?
That was where I was bringing up so much as like PD getting called out to a lot of disputes at one location that is basically people renting rooms and nobody gets along. So it's wasting their time, but under the nuisance, the way I understand what we've got, either the neighborhood would have to file or the complainant would have to file a nuisance, or it goes to an abatement. So I didn't know if maybe something
That's really probably because abatements fall under, nuisance fall under state law. We have a city ordinance that mirrors, but everything falls back to the state law. There's certain protections there, so we pretty much are tied. Our hands are tied on those, that we have to do it the way we've been doing those, that if it's gonna be a nuisance action, it's either gonna be brought by a private individual or brought here, and we file it on behalf of the city. Urban camping, I think the issue you all brought up was that Lawrenceville has a code section. I think this is probably one just we need to talk about if it's what you all want to pass. I don't see a problem with doing that, if that's something y'all are interested in. And the last one, some citizens need to have 2 trash cans. I've been asked this several times, so they're using the blue bags as instructed, but the bags sit on the ground, the animals rip into them, pulling out trash and causing neighbors to report it.
and that's handled on our update of.
Yeah,
Recycling.
that'll be,
I think Craig addressed that pretty good.
yeah,
Okay.
that's about to be
Deal.
updated there.
Okay.
All right.
So what is the purpose for the blue bags?
The purpose, do you understand, the blue bag
No, no,
program?
no, 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 I know what it is, but I'm saying like if you have 2 trash cans,
Right.
if they fill up and you have additional trash, you put them in the blue bags. So what do you do with the blue bags? Where
You
do
would-
they go?
They would still go sit out by the trash cans if they can't go in the can. See, right now, though, we only allow 1 65-gallon
Right.
trash can.
Right.
What we're talking about doing is allowing a homeowner to get a second 65-gallon trash can, not recycle bin, but a trash can, so that they wouldn't have to use the blue bags.
Oh, so eventually you will eliminate them.
No, we would
They'd
still
still be
leave those.
available.
They would
Still
still
be
be available, because there's some people
So-
that it's occasional that they
Right.
have extra trash, but there are some houses that it's like every week, there's blue bags out there too. So, it would just be another option for people. They could either still do the blue bag program, or they could go ahead and purchase for a fee for the year, the second 65-gallon can.
We'd still need the blue bags for like bulk items.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's extra household mattresses and whatnot.
And it segues into this, I've been talking to a real estate agent about how to get some of our code issues handled proactively. When people buy houses, they don't know that they need to get permits, that they can't put them into apartment buildings, they can't park commercial vehicles, that sort of stuff. And right now, we are reacting to complaints from people in neighborhoods rather than being proactive. So Tracy Leith had looked into it, and she found out that the Georgia Association of Realtors might allow us to submit a page that would be printed out in the, I lost it.
Disclosures.
Disclosure packet whenever anyone goes to list their house, that would be the Snellville page and would allow us to get the pertinent information into the record. And it would take care of some of the notification issues. So we're working on that. And then once we find out what's necessary and what we're allowed to do, then we'll have to sit down and figure out what we actually want on there, which we'll work with Jason and Chuck and Johnny and
Yep.
making
Sounds
sure that the pertinent stuff is there.
That way, when anybody goes to even look at the house or purchase contract, all of those disclosures would be in there.
Hopefully that'll take care of the pad split issue.
good. Would help.
It would help.
Or group homes. Well, at least it gives us a leg to stand on when we say,
That they've been notified.
Yeah.
It was in the disclosures. Yep. Okay, thank you, Jenny. Next, item C, discussion of elimination of the booting ordinance. Mr.
We
Emanuel.
have two ways to proceed on this. I got a call from a woman who met her friend for lunch at First Watch. And some guy came running up to her wearing a mask, a black mask that went from here to here. Looked like a thug. And waving this piece of paper. And she was afraid, and she drove off and then wound up parking where she shouldn't have parked. So our choice is, my concern is it's predatory. You know, they're not trying to prevent people as much as they're trying to catch them. She parked in the wrong spot, that's not disputed, but the booting people were not properly identified, didn't identify themselves, weren't dressed as required by our code. So our choice is we can eliminate the booting, or we can maybe beef up our code and make sure that people are properly identified. The problem is if you eliminate booting, then they can tow, which is a lot more of an inconvenience. So it's whatever anybody thinks is best. And those are the two options that I can think of.
I'm just not in favor of eliminating the booting, because I'm just thinking, I know from personal experience,
Yeah.
but I would rather know my car was still sitting there than to have it towed off who knows where, and it's usually double to get your car back. And then what if you're there with a baby and your car gets towed with the baby seat?
Yeah.
It's not like you can just take an Uber to the car lot and get your car out of impound. You've got a baby with you. You know,
Well, that's fine.
That's my only hesitation, but, and this, I mean, we beefed our code up. Our code is there, it's just that we need the complaints if the people are not wearing the proper uniform
Well, I think.
and they're
Greg's
not
gonna go
approaching people
cite them.
properly. We need people to let us know that.
So the police department is investigating. They were provided 2 videos from the scene of 2 different booting agents. One is the one that was waving the paper, clearly did not have any, so the rules we have under the booting ordinance are, first of all, you have to have the signs. They've got them pretty well covered on the signs. I mean,
Yeah.
you see those signs when you pull in. They then have to give a meaningful notice, either orally or written, by a person there. Now, these guys both had body-worn cameras strapped on, so they weren't nice and low profile like Johnny's. It's a clip-on like our police wear. It was these big 4 straps, so that, it was really prevalent that they were wearing a body camera on them. The one individual, and we have the video that was provided to the police, he makes some kind of hand symbol to the person driving by. And then the second individual is the one that actually collected the money, and there's a video of her having to give him her credit card on his little iPad to get the boot released. Neither of them are wearing the clothing that is supposed to have the name of the booting company on it, and it's supposed to prominently say booting operator on it. They were both wearing dark clothes. I say BDU pants, but kind of, police field, military field outfits. They wore we can't say they can't wear masks, because unfortunately in this day and age, they've repealed any laws about wearing masks, but these clearly weren't being worn for COVID protection. I suspect they will say that they get videoed and harassed because of what they do, but nonetheless, they were clearly look intimidating. So anyway, the police department is investigating them for the violation of the ordinance policies. Now, my understanding is that there's been some people on, I guess, Facebook that have.
Next door.
Next door, that have indicated they may have not been given proper notices. And, if you know somebody that says that they were improperly booted, if they've got any information, they need to contact the PD and turn that over. But, I suspect, they're gonna have, their cameras are gonna have whether or not they did that part or not on it. But we're gonna let the police do their investigation on this one and go from there. And, I suspect that it's just that this booting, maybe it's a different booting company, but they're just not following the rules.
Well, that would frighten me if somebody came up to me
It's very
looking like
intimidating.
that. It would be very intimidating.
And just for anyone who wants to understand the difference, so it's not illegal to have, if you own private property, you can have things removed off your property. That's why towing can be done. The problem is with booting, you're not removing things, you're actually leaving them on, for lack of a better term, you're holding them hostage on your property. And the Supreme Court is actually who ruled and said that there is no common law right to do that. So the only way that happens is if a municipality or a county government were to provide options for that. And so that's why we have the strict version that we have here.
You just wish they could approach it in a nice way, go up to people and just.
Well, that's my issue with it, is
Yeah.
they're not trying to prevent people, they're trying to catch them, and they're trying to cite them.
Exactly.
And I think if we beef it up and beef up the enforcement, I think that'll solve a lot of the problems, because
I think
apparently.
that's the issue, it's just the enforcement.
Yeah.
We
there's
just
been a
need to
number of
know
people.
when
I think they
there's
could
those
fine
violations.
$1,000. Well, we spent all weekend, we collected $300, and now we gotta pay $1,000 fine. They'll get their act together or they'll leave.
They didn't have signage though?
Oh, they've got a ton of signs.
Yeah.
So that means if people park there, they know that they're not supposed to park there. So-
Yeah, but our ordinance says not only do you have to have the signs, but you have to,
The people have
You
to be
have to.
approached with verbal or written warning as well.
With conversations I've had with Mose, he really believes the city. He seems to think, people look at him that he's doing this, and it's Barron's, so he feels very uncomfortable.
I would imagine a lot of those store owners in there feel the same way. I mean, but, you know, it's kind of that quandary, that parking area is just not big enough for all of those restaurants in there. Really, the solution is First Watch needs to find a new location.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They should have been freestanding.
Yep,
Right.
And it looks like one shopping center, you know, if you're lost in space somewhere and you're pulling in park and you say, oh, well, I'll just go around the corner.
right. It does. It does, but that's the last time we addressed this line. It must have been right before you got on council. So that was the discussion of whether we stop the, don't allow booting, and then the owner's gonna start towing.
And our code does specify that the notice shall be made in a cordial, non-confrontational manner.
That's what needs done. That's true. I mean, there's no reason to
Define
be
that.
ugly with people
Yeah.
about it if they honestly don't realize what they're doing.
Right. So, thoughts?
No, I was gonna say, if the signs are there, I mean, you know, and they park there, I mean, you're gonna expect to get booted, because that's what it says, you know, so. I don't see the rationale, and I understand, you have ordinance, you gotta show the papers, or show whatever, but, you know, it is what it is, they're still breaking the rules, you know?
Yeah. It's just, we were getting tons of complaints. Tons of complaints. They pick up, especially around Christmas time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And people are in and out of there a little bit more. But, I mean, most of what's over there is restaurants
Yep. Too many in that.
in that little small space, yeah. So. All right, so consensus is to leave the booting in place, but let the police investigate when we have claims of the booting company not following
Yeah,
those.
and then maybe get even more specific on the uniforms. It has to be a light color, it has to be a high visibility color with the proper identification on it.
And then if they're wearing stuff that covers all of that up, they need to have a badge or something on top
Well,
of
in
it.
plain view.
Yeah,
You know, they could put their, whatever they want to wear on it and put a vest over anything that's on the top.
okay. Well, that,
Pink and green.
yeah, no exec session tonight. So that brings us to the end of our work session. Anyone have a motion to adjourn?
I have a motion to adjourn.
There's a motion.
Take a look at the acronyms. I think you've got a page of acronyms there. Let us know what else you'd like on that we need to add to it. I think it's a good start.
So we have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Second by Gretchen. All in favor? Okay. It is 7:13. We'll see you in there. Yay.